decision to input Keyshawn Mitchell into the starting lineup instead of Lazar?
Lazar was 2 minutes late for our walkthrough this morning.
Same question to Brandon. They're 28 of 41 from inside the arc. What do you want to see from y'all defensively to limit the easy twos better?
Well, it starts out top, and it starts, like he said, with everybody. Like, it's not just a one-on-one matchup. It's got to be 5-on-5. Like, for stretches in the first half and maybe even a little bit early in the second half, like, they were seeing bodies and gaps, so it doesn't look like there's a driving lane. Especially from my vantage point in the second half, like, you just look up and you just see a guy with the ball and it's just open space, right? So they're going to take advantage of that, especially that team that's what they do. So, I said it afterwards, like the 44 points in the paint on the stat sheet is misleading because the 21 free throws all came from there. So it's really like 65 points, which is obviously way too many, right? Like, so, yeah, just that. We just got too spread out on a team that didn't really want to shoot. Doesn't really want to look for those opportunities outside.
Thank
you. Coach, now 2 in a row with a loss. How do you as a coach keep your players from getting in their heads about to?
Yeah, we just have to figure it out. Like, it's not, there's anybody who's played real basketball has lost, right? And anybody who's played real basketball has lost 2 in a row. And you just, again, it's where you really find out about yourself. Like, we always talk about, like, we're about winning, we're about winning, we're about winning. Well, then you find out, right? Because it's easy after 2 to say, well, it's this guy's fault or it's that guy's fault or this blame or that blame or whatever, point fingers. And I haven't seen that from this group, right? Like, they just, they can look at it and say, all right, this is what I need to do better. And I tell them all the time, like, it starts with me. Like, I have to be better. Like, I have to be flat out better. And, hopefully they follow suit with that too, that we're not, again, I think we played the 2, what likely are the 2 best teams right now in the league, and we're not that far off. But we're also not where we need to be to go get those 2 wins. So, it's figuring out why and correcting those things and fixing those things, and just go back to work. I don't really know any other way, right? Like, you go back to work, figure it out, watch it, figure it out, and, try to correct it on the court.
And it's easy to point out, look at the bad from a loss. But what were some positives that you can take away from today's game?
I mean, obviously we got good contributions. Lazar was good. Nick had a good stretch in the second half and was really good on the glass. There's. I have to really watch it to watch like the technical things. Be like, hey, you know what? This was pretty good. Like, obviously getting the ball. We did a good job getting the ball to Lazar in the second half. And that's always good for us. But yeah, I mean, in the moment, it's hard to come up with positives. But when we watch it, we'll see some things and say, all right, this was good. And we need to highlight that. And we'll show that too. Like, it's not like all you do is show the negative. Like, we'll show that. Be like, look, this is good basketball right here, right? Like. And it was a good game. Like, it was a good back and forth until they made that one little run. Like, it was a good, it's what college basketball should be. 2 good teams going at it, back, forth. They make a little run. We come back and make our little run and take a lead, and that's what the game should be.
Anything else for Coach?
Coach, both Nick Lewis and Brandon were running into some foul trouble at the guard spot. How did that impact the game for you all, and how did that impact the rotation as well and some decisions you made?
Yeah, I mean, those 2 guys we want on the floor as much as possible, right? Like, they're usually productive, and they're 2 of our guys that are, they really find a way to bring it. They just find a way to affect winning, right? Like, it doesn't have to be the ball going in. They just find ways to make plays. So, without them on the floor, that certainly hurts. And then them trying to play with fouls. Again, both young guys that have never, I don't think either one of them's been in foul trouble this year. Not to that extent, right? So you have a young guy in Brandon who played last year but never was in those positions. Well, now you're trying to figure out how do you play with 3 fouls? How do you play with 4 fouls? Nick, the same. A couple of their drives were because he just was like, he didn't want to be too physical, didn't want to pick up a 4th foul, and that's tough, but we need him out there. So, again, it's stuff you need to go through to learn that with a really young group in that backcourt, there's going to be those growing pains with them, and that was one of them tonight.
JJ and Tracy getting the start again. Was that 17 games in a row? But then only 10 minutes on the floor. Anything going on there? Or?
We got fouls in the first half, and then the second half, it just, again, I've said this before, like sometimes those other guys get going and it just kind of, Mike was very effective, so Mike stays out there longer, right? Terrence is very effective, so Terrence stays out there longer, so it's just that.
How important is it in a physical game like this to say that you've won the rebounding margin?
It's not really, to be honest with you. I mean, we should have had more offensive rebounds. There's some really good coaches out there that would tell you like rebounding. There's people that talk about rebounding margin. There's like some really good coaches that would say like rebounding margin's kind of like it's not really a stat that, again, we won the rebounding margin, but we lost the game, right? So, we want to rebound. We want to keep them off the glass, and we did a good job with that with only 6. Keeping them to 6 offensive rebounds, but they also shot too many layups. So, we got to go back to the drawing board. We got to get more on the offensive glass, and I'd be much happier if that number was like 15. I'd say, yeah, that was a real positive.
After y'all take the 56-55 lead, I think about 9.5 to go, did they change anything schematically to be able to separate and take control down the stretch there?
Not really schematically. We were still able to get the ball into Lazar, and in some of those possessions, they were obviously trying to be super physical with him down there, but he still was able to score on a couple of those. And then on the other end, it was us, what we talked about, getting spread out and then being able to drive us. We were guarding the initial action, and then once we guarded the initial action, it was like we kind of stopped, and too many guys spread out. So it was really more of that than anything. They went to the big kid a couple times too. He scored in there, which were good buckets for them.
Do 1 or 2 more, Coach.
Coach, you spent a lot of time talking about how impactful the Stu is to wins. And then coming in here, this seems like a pretty hostile environment. What's it like coaching and then coaching these guys when it might get loud against you?
Yeah, I will say this, like, that's a damn good team, and that building probably should be more packed for them. They really should. Like, their fans should be there. Like, they played in the championship game last year, and, I don't need to make a public service announcement for them, but, like, it's a pretty good team, right? And I am always in the opinion of, like, if you have a pretty good team, like, people should support that. It's hard to have a good team. And, certainly our fans do that, and our fans were great today, showing up in whatever it was, 2,000, 2,500 of them, something like that. But the noise of the game that's part of it, right? And I don't know that really affected us, that much. Like, but yeah, I would implore their fans, like, get out and support this group. Like, that's a good team, and what else you got to do? Like, come get out and see them play. Tony don't need my help with the promotion stuff, but that's what it should be. Like, these buildings should be full. Like, this is really good basketball at this level, the Atlantic 10. And these buildings, yeah, they're big, but like they should be full. Like, you got 2 really good teams out there on a Saturday. Like, it should be pretty packed. And I don't really pay much attention to it, so I don't even know what it was like today. But but their fans, like our fans, should be out supporting those teams, in droves.
Anything else, Coach?
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, man.